Train by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
I think we're fixing to make a studio in the back for all this.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can like record all night long if we want to. Like if you guys come in through the week and did like open mic or something, and after that you're like, let's go do a podcast. We could all like hop in and do one.
That would be really cool, like to get like a really good quality audio recording of a live performance. I feel like sometimes to me that's even better than like a recorded version.
Oh, well, you're talking about music though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
dude, I don't know what it is about music, but I can't record music for some reason. Like even when Payson was still alive, rest in peace, Payson. But he and I think I'm the only one that ever actually tried to record him.
Really?
Yeah. So I have like 8 or 9 of his songs, but they're like the worst fucking recordings ever.
Well, I know that Knox recorded him, and I think that was a really good recording.
Yeah, I sent all of Knox's stuff that I have, and we're going to try to put a little album together for him. That
would be really respectful and a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's how I met you, man.
Yeah. So I basically just ran into him because I knew one of the baristas at the Rook Cafe, and she was like, "Hey, they're starting a brand new open mic, like the first one they ever had," and it was really good because Payson was very inviting.
No, he's awesome, dude. He just had an energy about him, you know? Mm-hmm. And like I was talking to someone one day, I don't want to mention who it was, but we were actually talking about how, well, she mentioned that he wasn't supposed to die if anyone was. And I'm like, but maybe he's exactly who was supposed to die. Because like we all took note of that.
Yeah.
Like I think by him being on this planet definitely made the planet a better place. But him leaving the planet made us all realize that something special had gone.
Yeah. I think that you don't know what you have till it's gone. You know that saying?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Do you still do the open mics down at Rook and stuff?
Yeah. Actually, I just hosted the open mic on Friday, and I talked about the podcast that I was going to be on the podcast, and we had a really good turnout, even though right now it's Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of told some of my friends, and they really helped me out, and we had a lot of good people come in. Some really interesting music. Always good stuff.
Well, the cool thing about where the street's located now in relationship to the parades is we get a lot of foot traffic on this street. So I'm sure like some people were walking by the night you were recording to go to the parades. You know, it's just that most of the time when they're walking by, they're either going to the parades and they're pretty drunk, or they're going home from the parades really drunk.
Yeah.
I was in here on Friday and I just wanted to murder everyone. I was like, I'm over this shit. People were in here like throwing up and stuff. This is not the bar for that.
Well, I mean, if you just look at the street, it was pretty littered.
Yeah. I mean, it's Mardi Gras. People don't realize how much trash gets generated through this thing.
Yeah. And who picks it up?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm guessing the city deals with that. That's probably where more of our tax dollars go. We were just talking about how much money they spent on the Super Bowl with the homeless situation, which is insane. So I'm sure there's funneling more money somewhere else. I used to work in the French Quarter, and during Mardi Gras, it was interesting to see how they would clean the streets, because they clean the streets every single night after the parades and stuff down there. And the amount of beads and trash they pick up, they have to bring in front end loaders, and they put them in shipping containers, all the trash. It's insane, man. It doesn't make any sense.
Wow. That's a lot of money that maybe if they prevented having to use that money, they could use it towards other things that people need, you know? Well,
so there's the conversation we were just having is the homeless population. I'll go ahead and put it out here too, because I think it's interesting to talk about. They rehoused 170 homeless people for the Super Bowl, just to kind of get them out of the way for the Super Bowl to come in, right? And what they did was they took these 170 people and they moved them into a warehouse. Mm-hmm. And they did it for 2 months. They were housed for 2 months. How much do you think it cost?
I would say $200,000.
Right. That's a reasonable Guess. $17 million. 170 homeless people for 2 months. Like, where do you think that money went? Whose pocket?
I don't know.
That's insane, right?
That's a lot of money.
So I told him they could have built every one of them a tiny home, you know, sent the ones that needed to go to rehab.
Yeah.
Set them all up for a little job. Yeah, they could have set these people up, but instead, money disappears.
Well, I was living in Austin for a while, and there were like these homeless camps that they built there. Like,
yeah, like the tiny home things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the guy who was on Rogan's podcast one day. It was he does it, and he actually moved on to like the location with them too, which is, you know, that's something I don't think you would, even if someone around here built that, there's no way they're going to live on the site with them. That just takes a very special person.
Oh, so you're saying that's what they did in Austin?
Yeah, the guy that built that community, he's actually living on the community with the people. Yeah, I don't know how he got money or how they did any of that. I've watched the podcast, but I can't remember. I watched too many fucking podcasts. But yeah, the stuff that he's doing is very special, man, because he's helping these people get jobs. That's kind of where I got the idea. Like a tiny home community, set them all up for a job. He's making sure that they're accountable for like showing up for work and things. And if they're not accountable and they start drama in the community, they kick them out immediately. Yeah. So, I mean, like the way they're staying on top of these things, but that's all people really need. Some people just need like a hand, like help me stand up, and then I'll walk on my own.
Yeah. They need that starter, that kind of little support that right now they're not getting.
Yeah. Well, no one cares. Like if you walk down to under the bridge, I mean, most people just try to avoid that area, you know?
Yeah. And also there's a spot like that in LA too. Like there's a overpass, and you literally just drive through it, and it's just like tents on.
Oh, it's like a city, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people down there. Is that Skid Row? Is that still a thing?
Yeah. Skid Row is a thing, but I think when you're going like from the downtown area of LA out towards like the coastal area, there's like just this one area, and like just one car can get through because it's so crowded underneath there.
Yeah, I remember the last time I was out there, some of those structures are pretty fucking good too. Like they're taking plywood and building actual homes with plywood and tarps. And it's crazy that you know, people are with that much ingenuity are having to live on the streets like that.
Yeah, and they had like all these structures like up underneath, like a little like loft thing, you know, like just like a piece of plywood where the support beams are. And then you just go up in there with like a sleeping bag, and like in Austin, they were tearing them all out.
Why were they tearing them out?
Because they didn't want them there.
So were they even running off the homeless people too?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
They go somewhere else. I mean,
go live in the fucking woods, you homeless motherfucker. Like, what a society we live in. It's great.
Well, I actually had a cousin that lived in Austin like back in the 80s or 90s, I think, and he was homeless. And he lived out there in the forest, and he was an alcoholic. And the last time they saw him, he like came home for Christmas one year, and then like he just didn't come back.
No one knows where he's at.
I mean, they found him.
They found his body.
Yeah.
Out in the woods still.
So I don't know if you want to get into it. But,
hey, I asked you when you came in. I said, "Is anything off limits?"
Yeah.
If you don't want to, we don't have to.
No, it's fine. I mean, basically there was a very nice gentleman that was working for the sanitation department that found him
out there
in a bin.
Oh my God. So someone killed him.
That's what they think, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. My imagination runs wild when I heard that. Alcoholism is rough, man. I have several buddies that they're plagued with it. They were in like wars like Afghanistan or Iraq, one of those. Mm-hmm. And they come back and they just have this trauma that they don't know what to do with. And once again, with our society, you would think that we would have some kind of reform to mitigate that, but we don't. And we just kind of throw them back out in the world and say, good luck. And they end up doing that right there, where they just drink all the time. And something cool about Texas, and I also saw this on Rogan's podcast, was these guys that are talking about this new medication called Ibogaine.
Okay.
And Ibogaine is going to revolutionize mental health. What it does is it like resets the baseline dopamine levels. And I'm not a scientist, so I don't really know this for a fact, but I'm just like guessing. But it resets the dopamine levels. So, and they're saying that the studies are coming back where if you take one dose of Ibogaine and you're addicted to heroin, they're looking at people that are addicted to opiates, that there is I think it's 86% success rate on one dose of Ibogaine to get you off of heroin for good. And then if you do a second dose, it actually goes up into the 90th percentile to get you off the drugs, which is it's crazy, just off 2 doses of medication. But it's on it's one of the psychedelics that you can't get in the United States.
Ah.
Yeah, there's a reason for all this stuff, right?
Well, I mean, that means that it's resetting the brain back to square one, I guess.
Yeah. So that could have actually helped your cousin, is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that once that's the whole thing. It's like once you get into that cycle, your brain gets structured in those cycles, and then it's kind of hard to get back to square one, because even if you stop, you're always filling it with something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like this void inside of you that you're trying to fill up, right?
Yep.
I think that's what it is to be holy or whole. Like maybe you're full.
I've heard a lot of people that they get religion like that, like it fills that hole for them and they're able to go on without any more substances. And
see, I think of a holy guy as something a little different than just having religion.
Yeah, a spiritual guy.
Yeah, someone that has already like surpassed religion. Like they understand that that religion is also just another one of those things that can fill the void. Where if you actually look inside of yourself, you find out what the problem is, and you fix the void.
Yeah, I think that that's a very honorable thing to do, and it's very hard to be introspective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they don't want to look inside; they just want to blame everything around them. But I think if they look at what they're doing and what they're putting out and that energy, then they'll realize that maybe I'm the problem.
So, a little segue here.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to your new album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what is that? What's the very first song called?
Between the Lines.
Yeah, dude, I freaking love that song. It's
really
awesome. Yeah. So, like, do you find that you, because it sounds like you're kind of like singing about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an introspective thing for you whenever, because this is a very melodic and I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but like the album's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of, is it about you?
Yeah, it's about me. Everything I write is about me.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that's a way to look inside of yourself?
Yeah, I feel like that if I'm just sitting with myself, I can't really figure out what's going on. Like there's kind of like a veil in just to a certain degree where I can't fully go inside of my mind. But I find that journaling and writing music is a great way to go back, and I listen to my music and like I try to figure out like what am I meaning, and sometimes I surprise myself.
Just by the lyrics?
Yeah, because it's like a subconscious train of thought kind of thing. Like everything that I've written, I feel like it just kind of flows out. So I'm not intentional about it.
Interesting. I always wondered that about some of the great songwriters.
I mean, I think Bob Dylan was that way. He kind of just wrote on a typewriter, and then he had some music that he would put with it, and he just kept putting out more and more songs that way.
Is that kind of what you do too? You like have the music already made, and then you kind of come back and, because there was a guy one time on here, and we were talking about his process, and he said that after he gets the beat made or the music made, I guess then he goes back and he hums over it. and the humming is making the melodies, which then he kind of adds the words where the melodies are going.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good approach. I think you can get a good hook or a good melody that way. But I feel like that I do that, like I'll just be playing the guitar and then I'll just be vocalizing whatever the pitch is and then like where the chords are moving to. And then I guess I create the melody that way. And then I just start singing on that level. And then and then I just hit record, and that's kind of what I go back. And sometimes
So you don't actually write first. You kind of do it as like a flow state kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
And then do you ever like finish a song and you're like, that was crap?
All the time. All the time, because I feel like that it surprises me when people like what I'm writing, because I feel like I'm just writing it like somebody that's like opening up a journal and just writing their feelings.
It is an interesting thing to think about whenever someone actually likes your art that you're creating. I always just assume that everything that I do is shit.
Mm-hmm.
That way I leave myself open for, for the bad criticism too. But yeah, it's always nice to hear that you've created something that someone resonates with. There's another song that I've heard a while back that kind of reminds me of that first song too. I couldn't figure out the name of the song whenever I was listening to it, but if I ever find it, I'll send it to you. But your song is very beautiful. That first one, I like it a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do you have like an overall theme with that one? Because I know the name is Colors.
Your Color.
Your Color. Yeah.
I would just say that most of those songs were written here, and
here
in New Orleans.
Okay.
And just kind of the theme of it, I think, is I wanted it to be kind of beachy, but also kind of introspective, like you were saying.
Beachy, what do you mean by that?
I really wanted just something that sounded like it could be made in the 60s or 70s in like California, but with an R&B influence and jazz influence from New Orleans.
Okay.
Or just whatever the energy is here, it's in there somewhere, you know?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that I thought that the song that I was saying that I've heard one like it before, I thought it was like a Beatles song. So I was kind of getting like a Beatles vibe from a couple of those, like some of their slower songs that they have.
Yeah, I love the Beatles. I listen to them a lot. My parents really like the Beatles. I feel like they're a huge inspiration. I feel like melodically, I like the Beach Boys more, but I feel like that.
So I didn't catch any Beach Boys from that
Really?
album. Yeah. I'll go back and give it another listen whenever we finish up here, but I might just be because I'm not as familiar with the Beach Boys as I am with the Beatles. But I think I've only like listened to a few of the Beach Boys songs. Do they sing some? Do they have music that's kind of like your album that you find?
Yeah, I feel like that. I listen to a lot of their deep tracks, and I feel like that there was this one album that came out in '65, and it was called Beach Boys Today.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that melodically, it was kind of one of their first albums that broke away from that surfy sound.
That's the only thing I can hear in my mind.
Yeah, a lot of people get hung up on that, but
yeah,
maybe if not just on this album, but on some of my previous singles, I feel like you could hear the harmonies that I'm trying to accomplish the way that Brian Wilson did. But I feel like the secret there is to get that kind of 60s layered psychedelic, but like formatted sound, but not too formatted, is like you layer guitar and bass, several guitars, and it all has like a rhythmic kind of vibe going. And then you do like these 3-part harmonies of like, I'm doing like a low and then and like different intervals, and then all that together, and then the melody on top of that, I feel like is the secret. But it's very hard to maintain a very solid beat like that.
Just because there's so much going on.
Um,
I mean, if you're playing it live, you're gonna have like a backtrack recorded, right? With like most of them, and you're just gonna like.
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole other can of worms is playing things live, because if I wanted to, I would have a humongous band, but I feel like people are not getting the full picture if I'm just up there playing the guitar some of the time. But in my head, I hear all the different parts when I'm just playing by myself, you know?
So do you think that, and this brings up another interesting point, that I think that ideas aren't really ours, that we're just kind of grabbing them from the ether? Since you can like hear it all composed already in your head, do you feel like you're just on like a certain wavelength that you can hear this music where others can't?
That's a great point. I've often wondered, like, why does some music people just really get on with, and then other music people are just like, I don't know, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's because the music that you're speaking about, I feel like we all can hear it. We just can't, we don't know that we can hear it. If that makes any sense. So like I can see all colors of the spectrum right now, but I can only conceptualize certain ones because that's what I have the rods and the cones for in my eye. But there are other people that have more rods and cones in their eye that can see a more in-depth color space. So I think it's kind of the same way with music and stuff, is like you have a different sensory organ than I do. And that's maybe where you're picking up that I can't. But then when you actually take the sound and make it into a way that I can hear it, that's what you're doing when you're creating the music. You're making it into a format that I can understand.
Oh.
It's kind of like we all have our own codecs, and you're taking the file format that you have and rendering it into a file format that we can all understand.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part, I guess, is appealing to your audience. I guess maybe there are some artists that write for a certain audience, you know what I mean? And those are like the people that really get a lot of accolades.
I think that's a problem though, right? It's like Rick Rubin, what he says. He says, don't create for your audience, create for yourself.
See, I've never heard that before, but I 100% agree.
Yeah. Rick has some good insights. And I think it was it System of a Down that he helped? Might have been System of a Down that he helped with the Toxicity, or that album. Yeah, so he actually, I think he was one of the producers on that. And he said that whenever they came in the studio the first day, they played him what they had. And he's like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Mm. And the Taj guy was like, yeah, that's what we want to do. And he's like, okay, well, let's do it then. Like, if this is where we're going to go. And it's one of the greatest albums that, that landed those years. So I think you do. I think you kind of have to, I fall into the same category when we're making films and stuff. It's like, I want to make things that resonate with the audience, but at the same time, I want to make things that I like.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, I mean, maybe a lot of people feel the urge to create when they notice there is a void and they want to fill that void, So
do you think that there's a void for the type of music that you're making right now? Or do you think that you're just kind of like filling your own void?
Both. Mm. Yeah. I think that I'm sure you know Merle Haggard. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorites. He said that the reason why he thinks that he was still living is because he felt like he hadn't written that song. The song.
Yeah.
And
is he dead yet?
Yeah, he died 2016.
I wonder if he actually got it out.
Only he knows.
Yeah. Like, what if there's like an album somewhere that he wrote, his last album, and then he died right after he did it?
I don't know. I mean, I think everything he did was amazing. So,
Yeah, no, he had some good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff that like lives on.
yeah. And like, who put saxophone on country music?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I think that same way about there are certain hip hop artists that I like. Shit, if I could think of their names, but one of the ones that I like right now, he's doing. He's from India, so he has like the sitar and instruments like that with the like 808 beats.
Wow.
So like those mixing those two cultures together, and it makes some awesome sounds. Hanuman, yeah, that's his name. I fucking love that guy.
I feel like that is a whole nother thing that I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about when people are always looking for new sounds. And I feel like when you have these combinations of this sound and that sound, and then you put them together, that's a new sound, you
Mhm.
know? So there's so many different sounds that haven't been combined. I mean, one time I heard like some type of Asian music that was mixed with Appalachian music.
Was it good?
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It works.
That's what's nuts is that we're so different, but we're also we're so similar
Yeah.
that we can take things like that and meld them together. It was like a TikTok or something the other day, and this girl was just dancing, and it was from like a music video or something. She was dancing, and the guy's like, this music's like okay, because it was like some artist, like she was her own music and stuff. But then he's like, but what if we put this music over it? And he took like this really popular rap song and put it on there, and it made the dance, enhanced it that much more, just because like she was hitting every single beat, and it's like, how is she hitting every beat in her song, but also this hip hop song too?
Well, do you want the answer?
Yeah.
It's because music, all types of music, follows a certain note progression that I think is universal. And it comes from
Even different genres.
I think they all at the root have a certain rhythmic structure that I believe resonates with all of humanity. And it's kind of like, what was that one language software that people would use, Rosetta Stone?
Yeah, that teaches you the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like music is kind of like a universal Rosetta Stone,
I could see that.
because no matter where you are, if that same type of beat could be applied with different cultures, and it's a humanistic aspect that's activated.
Yeah, I mean, even songs that I don't understand because I don't understand the language,
Mhm.
I still understand the feeling that it evokes inside of me, which is kind of crazy.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, I love to listen. I love Indian music. This is how I got onto Hanumankind. But something about that music, I don't understand the word they're fucking saying. They could be saying, kill all Americans or something, and I'd still listen to it. It just like sounds dope. It like makes me feel something. I even meditate to it. I love meditating to Indian music.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about like music from India, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that definitely, like, it takes you to a certain place.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I really like that stuff a lot.
Well, some of those songs have been around for thousands of years too.
Yeah. And you meditate?
Yeah, I love meditating, dude. Every day.
Wow.
Some days I'll get lost in it.
Do you do it like in the morning or at night?
I'll do it right after my workout. So I usually work out at about 10 a.m. And then as soon as I get through my workout, I'll go up to the rooftop and I'll meditate for, 15 minutes to an hour. And sometimes in the afternoon, after I get finished working here, I'll go back home and I'll meditate again in the afternoon. And just
Wow.
let go, bro. I don't even know like what's going on while I'm up there. But it's like 1 minute I'm here and the next minute or actually then an hour goes by and it's like, where was I at?
Yeah. I feel like I've only reached that state probably a couple of times in my life, but it really is like a dissociation.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that is?
I think that whether you want to call it God or Hare Krishna or Jesus or Buddha or whatever, it's in there. It's that space where they're all at, or he's at, or whoever you want to say, that's where it's at.
God, I wish I could bring it back with me then.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe subconsciously it's still there and it can be applied through your acts of humanity.
I guess. I feel like I'm a pretty evil guy though. It takes everything I have to hold it in.
Really?
Oh, it's crazy, bro. Yeah, I'm just angry all the time. And I know I walk around like a happy guy, but it's because I go work out. If I didn't go work out and get the aggression out.
Well, I mean, as long as you're keeping it, in control, then.
Yeah, it's going to suck for people whenever I get old and can't work out anymore. Then I'm going to be like this old angry guy walking around.
Yeah. I think there's enough of those.
That's probably, you think that's why they're angry? Their bodies got to a point where they just couldn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. See, I feel like you uncovered something else.
Yeah, who knows, man? I just talk random nonsense. Sometimes it makes for good content. So, what else you got planned for the day? You going to Mardi Gras? Doing any Mardi Gras stuff?
No, I still have some more music that I feel like I always have more music that I need to work on.
Yeah, I think it's so I was watching a podcast last night with Mr. Beast in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Mr. Beast is?
Yeah, he's that guy from North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. He's like a famous YouTuber, has Mr. Beast games now. But he was kind of talking about his schedule. And it's the most insane fucking schedule that I believe I've ever heard in my life. Just the amount of shit he does all the time. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. It kind of gave me like a boost because I don't really do the Mardi Gras shit either. Mm-hmm. I kind of stay in and work on my own stuff. But we got some stuff right now that we're working on. And I was thinking about like letting those guys have Mardi Gras to party and have a good time. We'll start next week. But then I texted one. I was like, yo, Tuesday, we're filming. And he was like, okay. Like he's ready to go too. So it's like, while everyone else is out partying, we're going to go and actually start working on something.
Yeah.
So it gives us like a day ahead.
Yeah. Take advantage of the little times that you have. And if you're not into Mardi Gras, then so be it.
Well, it's all about time, right?
Yeah. And we only have so much time. It feels like we never have enough time to really do what we want to do.
Do you find that you manage your time very, very well?
No.
Yeah, it's something I have issues with too.
Yeah. No. I feel like I spend too much time watching TV, but I love film. So maybe I'm gaining something artistically from that.
It depends on what kind of TV you're watching, right? If you're watching The Real Housewives, then you're probably not gaining much for that.
No.
What do you like to watch?
I like to watch like vintage stuff, like stuff from like the 60s. And
you're like in this like old school mindset, right? I like it. Yeah. Like, have you always been this way?
Absolutely.
With your music and everything. You've been talking about the music from the past too.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like people always say I'm an old soul. I feel like I know you said there's a lot of angry old men, but
you're the nice old man.
Well, my girlfriend calls me an old man, but I feel like I was raised by those people because of my family.
Your parents a little older?
Yeah, my dad's in his 70s.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of people that I see that were raised by older parents they kind of have the same demeanor.
Yeah. So like it kind of feels like you kind of have to grow up sooner in a sense.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people today that I feel like never fucking grow up. Have you come across those people?
I mean, there's levels. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I don't typically hang out with those kind of people because like we just don't resonate. Because like I have a lot of responsibility that I have to take care of. And I feel like some people have zero responsibility. And if they do, they don't even take that serious. So that's what I mean by like not growing up.
Yeah, like if you have an appointment scheduled with somebody and they just ghost you, that's kind of like not taking care of business.
Or cutting corners at your job, you know, whatever, you know?
Yeah. What would be like a red flag for you?
In regards to what? Like someone working here or like a female companion or?
In regards to like an employee.
Oh, well, cutting corners. Like I don't have many rules here to work here, but the ones that I do have, I take very serious because they reflect the business, which in turn reflects on me.
Yeah.
So like when you walk into this space, I want it to be a clean space. I have a thing about floors. I want the floors to be clean. So that's like one of my big rules that I have. Every night when you get off work, sweep the floors, mop the floors. That way it also keeps bugs out of the bar because shit spills on the floor. And you also get the dog hair up, the dirt up. Just like it's one of my little pet peeves. So that's really one of the only things that if you don't respect that rule right there, then we already have issues.
Yeah, that's like the bare minimum.
Yeah. I'm pretty chill because I've worked for managers before that were just like Nazis, man.
Really?
Yeah. They're just like, you do it this way right here. And if you don't, you're gone.
Wow.
You ever work for any people like that?
No.
You're lucky. But that also brings up the point of, do you manage it all? Or like, I don't know what you do for work, but.
I'm getting my master's right now.
Okay.
So I'm kind of doing like an internship kind of thing.
So I find that some people that end up coming out of college with college degrees, and they end up going straight into management positions because they maybe have like an MBA or something, but they've never actually managed someone, or they've never really had a job where they're under someone that's a manager. That kind of creates problems.
Yeah.
But since I've had the experience of working under people like that, I know that I can tailor my management style to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I took it literally what you said, like as being like a majorly oppressive kind of boss. I have had bosses that I feel like didn't give me the autonomy that most of us would like to have. And I feel like that because of those experiences, if one day I became a manager, I'm not sure if I want to manage people. But if I were, I feel like that I would try to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I meant.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way I see politics these days is, you know, you have politicians that are making legislative decisions. You have millionaire and billionaire politicians making legislative decisions for middle-class people. Like if you've never been middle class, you don't understand the struggle. Therefore, you shouldn't be making laws for the middle class.
Yeah. I mean, completely out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that just seems like a very prevalent problem nowadays. A lot of people talking about things that they don't have experience about. I mean,
I do that all the time.
Really?
I mean, I'm on a podcast, bro. That's literally what I do.
Well, but in a different way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I be voicing my opinion all the time. People on the internet flame me about it too. Whatever. Fuck them.
Well, free speech.
Which is part of it, right? Anytime you put yourself out there, you kind of like with your music too. Do you ever get any bad reviews on your music?
I have had thoughts that people kind of think that my music is maybe not exciting to them, and it bothers me a little bit, but
that's all in your head.
Yeah.
Unless someone's actually said it to you, you don't really know yet, right?
Well, I'm very sensitive to the crowd, And I feel like if there's sometimes where I played a song and I feel like it really goes over well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some times where I feel like people are just kind of, maybe I am in my head, but I feel like they're just kind of looking like, oh, this song, like it's not really doing anything.
That makes sense. If you're talking about like a live crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was strictly speaking about like YouTube, and I guess you can't really comment on Spotify, can you?
No.
I was gonna say, if you can, I'm giving you a bad review today. Gonna see if I can get in that head.
Well, what they say, bad press is press.
Absolutely. That's kind of the way I feel too. That's why these days I don't even read the comments. I leave them open so that people can comment on the stuff that we talk about. But I know that even though I have a very thick skin, I can tell that it's like it weighed on me on a few podcasts, because I read one of the comments and I was like, oh, motherfucker. Yeah. I commented just a smiley face on the video just because I thought it was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it just bounced off me, right? So then the next two podcasts, I'm like in my head, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So then I had to get out of my head, and now I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to read the comments at all, because even though my skin is thick, that stuff still just kind of weighs on you a little bit.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely stick with you, stick like a thorn in your side if you keep it there, but you just gotta toss it down on the path and keep going.
That's kind of what I do, bro. So you got any last words you want to tell the people?
Yeah, I have a new album out. It's called Your Color. It's by my music project, Cobbin. And I really put some love in there, and I hope that y'all, much like our gracious host, enjoy the material. And I appreciate Another Bar and all the opportunities in New Orleans to be an authentic musician.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the album, and I hope you get some great success. I'll put the link underneath the podcast too for people that want to go check it out. Jacob, I appreciate you coming in today, brother.
Thank you very much.